What is up, everybody? My name is Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to Retro Flashforward, showcasing my desktop and the current... okay, we're not going to do that again. It was lame the first time. Yeah, so, I tell ya, when I started this show up, I really thought that Retro Flashforwards... Well, I didn't even have an idea to do Retro Flashforward when I started this show, but I really thought it was going to be a once-in-a-blue-moon thing, and I've been really happy and impressed with how many of these I've gotten to do of late. And, well, today's no exception. We're going to be taking a look at something really, really interesting that I actually missed originally, but popped up on my radar when it was announced on Steam recently. We're going to be taking a look at something very, very interesting called Retro Game Crunch. And here it is right here. Well, one part of it. So this is a very interesting thing. So originally, 3 developers decided to participate in a Ludum Dare, which is a major game jam. If you don't know what a game jam is, very simple concept. Basically, a game jam is when a bunch of developers get together. They are tasked with coming up with an idea for a game, an original idea for a game based on a theme. They have an amount of time. With Ludum Dare, I believe it's 72 hours to come up with a working prototype of the game from scratch. And it has to be playable, and they have to present it off. And the theme that they had was evolution. And this is what they came up with, Super Clue Land, which we got right here. And they came in second place in their category, which is pretty awesome. So what they decided to do, actually, was run a Kickstarter. And sadly, this is the part I missed. I never heard of this Kickstarter, and I'm kind of bummed because I would have liked to have backed it. But the theory was that they were going to, if they could raise enough money to support themselves for 6 months, they were going to finish polishing this game up, and then they were going to do 6 more games in 6 months based on community-submitted themes. Basically, their own little mini game jams. So people would submit an idea, and they would pick the idea based on what the community wanted. They would crunch hard for 3 days to come up with a working prototype, show it to the community, and if the community liked it, they would spend another month polishing it up into something bigger and better. And then they packaged all them up and put them up on Steam. And that's what we've got here. And the cool thing is, all of these are inspired by the NES era. So they have NES-like graphics, NES-like music, all original music too. And I'm not 100% sure of this, but I think they set themselves the equivalent of like the operational requirements of an NES. So these are games that theoretically you should be able to load onto an NES and use, which is pretty amazing. So we got a whole package here, all based on different themes. So I'm going to go over them here, and I'll show them all to you. Forgive the blurriness down here in the corner. I don't know if it's the game or my recording software, but when Steam overlays pop up, they blur out. Just like the last video I did on Balls of Steel, I can't capture this properly without it just capturing my whole desktop, so that's why you saw it before. Anyway, so we got Super Clue Land, which, as I said, is a game based on evolution. We have End of Line, which by the look in the music kind of sounds like a Mega Man game, but it's actually really friggin' kind of dark, and I'll get to that. So we've got that. We've got Gaia Attack, which this is actually my favorite one of the bunch, but we'll get to that. We have Paradox Lost, which is a very interesting Metroid-like game involving time travel. We have Web-Wub Rescue, which is not at all what I expected. It's a rhythm-based, almost like a Donkey Kong kind of thing. We have Brains and Hearts, which is probably my least favorite, only because it's a card game, and I'm not really big into card games, but it's interesting nonetheless. And then finally, we have Shootin', which this is one I actually like quite a bit as well. So, these are all available on Steam. You pull this up, and you'll get the keyboard controls here. This game does support a gamepad. I'll be playing it with an Xbox 360 controller. Steam lists this game as having partial controller support, and that is because the game does not recognize the button inputs on the 360 pad. So while it works, everything is set up assuming you'll be using the keyboard, and it doesn't know to change those to button prompts. So that's all it is. Some of these games also have save states. Some of these games, so there's the three people there, Rusty Moyer, Sean Inman, and Matt Grimm. I apologize, guys, I forgot your names at the beginning and I didn't write them down because I'm an idiot. So they put this together, and I'm going to show you a little bit of each of these. Some of these games have save points, and I have made some progress into them because the ones with save points kind of start off slow. So as you can see here, you can either start a new game or you can continue. I'll start a new game to show you how this works. Sure. I haven't played very far, so. So here's what I am. I am a slug. I can do nothing but move. I can't jump, I can't attack, I can't do nothing. And as you see, there are enemy-like things here. But, what happens? What is that? I just swallowed something. So you may see this little puzzle thing going on here. So the idea is that when you eat something, there it is. So when you eat something, you will obtain a certain amount of those gems. And what you want to do is using, in my case, the X, Y, and B buttons on the controller, you want to match those gems with the patterns on the left, top, and right of this little segment in the bottom right there. So you'll only get a certain amount of gems, so you won't be able to do it every single time. But when you can, and you fill up your evolution meter, all of a sudden you become a little bit better. So what can I do now? I can jump. And I can see I leave my skin behind there, which is really kind of disturbing. And it gets a little trickier as you go on. So you can see there's platforming here. That's a save point. Those little flowers are a save point. So you see there's platforming here. In addition, well, I can't swim right now, so that's what happens when you do that. You have endless lives. There's no score. You're just taken back to your last sort of save flower when you die. And the idea is that you have to make the patterns match. So when you eat something, you may not always get the right gems that you need for the job. Now, you're supposed to be able to discard, as far as I know, I think you're supposed to be able to discard gems you don't need, but I haven't actually managed to figure that out. I couldn't get it to do that. So sometimes the evolution took longer than I would have wanted. So this is what you're aspiring to be, as you can see. None of these games are particularly long, by the way. So you see I can meet that there, and you see there's a blue on top of it. So I want to stack it up like that. Now you see here I got a green one. Whoops. Now that just brings up the map. So in theory, I thought there was supposed to be a way to ditch it, but I can't. Now, you can send it towards the wrong color, and you can see that when you do that, it disappears. But if you're trying to make a pattern up and you have the right color in place already, it can kind of blow that. So, for example, like that. See, I put a green towards a red, and it killed the red. So, I'm not quite sure how you're... There doesn't appear to be a discard option, so it looks like you just kind of have to manage that as you go, which... is an interesting challenge element, but also kind of frustrating at the same time. So, see here again. Let's just toss that up there because there's nothing up there. So it just requires a bit of strategic management, but your goal is to get around the map, at least the parts of the map you can traverse, and obviously this will open up as you progress, and you will be able to, as you get more powers, you can get into areas you couldn't get to before. So you'll be able to swim, you'll be able to fly, you'll be able to do all kinds of things. Haven't played this all the way through yet. So I don't know if you'll actually be able to, if you actually obtain the ability to attack at any point, or if that's not what this is about. That would be interesting. In either case, actually. And here we go. Now I've evolved again. Now I'm a fishy. Or rather, I have fish-like capabilities. So, into the water we go. And you're getting the idea here, so you can see that there's little challenges, there's enemies to avoid, there's some timings involved, things like that. I would not call this particularly difficult. Some of these games do get devilishly hard as you progress, which I'll show you guys going forward, but I like this. This is a cool idea. It's a very, very classic formula, to be sure, something that we would have seen back in the NES era or whatnot, but it's done really well. And it's unique, and it involves, you know, the theme was evolution, and they totally did it. And it works out pretty well. And you can see here the level of complexity that's coming in some of these patterns now. Like, look at that one on the left. That's a little nuts. But this game is hella NES, and that's what I absolutely love about it. Like, it's got the graphic style down, the color palette down. Ha! The music is fantastic. It's bang on NES chiptune. Nope, we don't want that. And you see that blew out the whole pattern. So this is where stuff gets tricky, I think. It's even got a little bit of scroll stutter, which I don't think you can see on the video because it's only 30 frames a second. But scroll stutter is something along the lines of, if you are actually familiar with NES games, you might want to look at something like Bionic Commando for a demonstration of this effect. Bionic Commando had that where it doesn't scroll smoothly. It almost looks like it's stuttery a little bit, which was a very NES hallmark type effect, and that's what this has. And it's really, really neat. I really like it. So, but you get the idea of this one here. I don't know how long any of these games are, but I know none of them are super, super long. But you sort of get the idea on that guy there. So, it's cool. I like this one, actually. Like I said, not all of these games, and you would expect in a package like this that games this vary, not everything's going to hit as well as others, and that's definitely the case. But Super Clue Land is one I actually like. Now, End of Line. Now, this is an interesting one. This is a puzzle game through and through. There is no combat in this, not really. I don't know what those executive producer things are either. I'm guessing those are people who backed at high tiers on their Kickstarter that get their names put in, something like that. So the idea of End of Line is Immortal Learn to Die. This is why I said it's dark. This is a game... So we're going to start this over too. So the theory behind this game is that all the humans in the world are dead. The robots either wipe them out or something else wipe them out. And you're a robot that is hyper lonely and completely basically depressed at the state of the world. And, well, you want to end it. You want to end your life and be done with this world. But because you're a robot, you can't die. Or, in theory, you can't. So, got all these spikes, right? Seems easy enough to kill yourself. Whoa, what's this? Yes. Every time you kill yourself, you can keep doing it. You will just keep getting resurrected by this weird, like, cat thing. So if I want to end my life, I guess I got to take that out, right? Well, you get the idea here, which was that... So you can reset the level at any time by pressing the B button. And as you can see, it starts over there. But anytime it resurrects you, it will go back to the resting point that is closest to your resurrection pad. So there's nothing I can do here. The only thing you can do in this game is that. Dash. Only thing you can do. So if I kill myself, it's going to resurrect me. But now he's over here. So, dash into him. He's now dead. Now what happens? End of line. And now you're on to the next stage. And this is what the whole thing is. It's basically about you have this depressed robot that wants to end its life, and you're trying to kill it within the puzzle constraints of the level. And it's mostly what you're seeing here. It's what you see is what you get. There's a lot of block puzzles. There'll be conveyor belts that we'll get to here, as you can see. There are multiple kinds of robots that can heal you. Sometimes you'll have multiple healing robots to take out. There's button presses that are involved in this. So if I kill myself again, see, because it resurrects me over here. Now I am on the proper side of this block to push it. Screw you. And there you have it. So that's really the basic idea of this. And being a puzzle game such as it is, the levels get more complicated as you go on. They're pretty simple for the most part here, but as you can see, there's a conveyor belt pattern there. So take him out. Boom. I have not finished any of these games. This one, you get to be... So when you see this one, you've got this weird, kind of cute, bouncy robot. So you want to pull the barrier down for him so that he trips the button to get you out. There you go. This guy can also heal you, so observe. So as you can see, he can actually heal me. But, haha, if I take him out, these little healy bots will heal him. Screw you guys. Now, We out. Good night. So these levels get more and more complicated as you go on, and now you can see we've got a different problem. So I can kill myself, but because that's the closest rest point, he's up there. So that's not very good. And what can I, this isn't going to work at all. Well, see this thing. This is sort of a, I don't know if this is supposed to be like an AI mainframe or something else, but this is what it is. It's something that the AIs want to heal. So bash into that. So he heals that, but because that's his nearest rest point is out here now because he healed that. Good night. And I don't think you have... Yeah, and you don't have... Those do not have to be destroyed for you to be able to complete the level. Those are just distraction objects. Is basically all it is. So, here you see I can't even hurt myself at all, right? And we got that thing there. So this is a bit of a problem, isn't it? Well, let's bring him out. Knock him out. So you see you also can't hurt him. As you can see, you can't hurt him unless he's at rest. So if he's in the middle of healing somebody else, you can't hurt him. So we'll bring him back out, and him. And we also need to get this box out like this. Push it like that. And out we go. So you get the idea here, right? Not much more to say about this, other than the levels get more complicated the further on you go. And I really like this. I think this is a really cool... Like, I'm not even a big puzzle game guy, to be frank about it. Puzzle games have never really done it for me. But... like, I like certain ones that do things in an interesting way, and this one most certainly does that. I think this is really, really cool. I'll probably actually sit down and finish this. And thankfully, this is one of the games that does have a save system in it, so you can back out at any time. Whoops. Oh yes, you can also play these in... There's also no options menu for this game, by the way. This is a very stripped-down production. You can go window, you can go full screen to your native resolution, that's it. There's not even volume sliders in this game, much less anything else. But it's an NES-inspired thing, doesn't really matter. So, you can also reset the level at any time, which is never... In the initial testing I did, never mattered. I'm sure in later levels you can basically screw it up to the point where you've got to start over, so... So that's end of line. The next one we have is Gaia Attack, which is probably my favorite game of the collection. So the theme of this one is you are the level, which I kind of don't understand what that means in the context of this. But this is a really interesting combat platformer. I guess it kind of takes a little bit of inspiration from like things like maybe Super Crate Box or Puzzle. I would say Puzzle Bobble more than anything. Also has co-op, which is cool, but we don't. I don't have a partner here, and it has an online leaderboard. Only one in the package that has an online leaderboard. Online leaderboard only works in solo. I can only imagine it will be cheat engined to hell before too long. So you can see I got to get up there. So, you can jump, you can punch. So your objective is you got to clear a level out. So, purple enemies are normal enemies. Yellow enemies, if you take them out, you're going to get one of those yellow little power-up things. What do the yellow power-up things do? I'm glad you asked. They do this. Power attack that basically wipes out anything that's sitting with you. There are also bigger versions of these enemies that take more hits to kill. And the red enemies and the red barrels, for that matter, if you take them out, drop health. So the enemies in every section of the level are finite. So you want to take them out as quick as you can, but when you do take them out, you will see that the ground starts to come up on you. And enemies can die in there too, though you don't get any points for enemies who die that way. And as you see, you can die too. And oh yeah, one life. Well, sort of one life. When you complete an area, there are little save fires that look very reminiscent of something you'd see out of Dark Souls that you can trigger that basically save your progress in the level. This game has no permanent save system, but you can checkpoint your way through a level. There are multiple levels. There we go. Fire's active. So this is a score attack game, which is what probably one of the reasons I love it so much. And so while you can see that enemies die by hitting the crap that comes up from the bottom at you, you kind of don't want that. You want to kill them and you want to try to get combos on them because that's where you're going to get your biggest scores. You want to maximize your score while taking everybody out. I mean, you'll get through the game by taking everybody out, and there really is an incentive to do it, to have guys get taken out via the environment, I suppose, because the leaderboard in this game, which is one of the things I think is really cool, is measured in two ways. It's measured in points, but also in clear time. Which obviously those two things are somewhat mutually exclusive. You know, if you're trying to farm the most points you can, you're not going to want to. You're going to be spending more time. If your goal is to speed run this, you're probably not going to do it for score. So I guess you do have incentives to do it either way, which I think is kind of neat. So here's one of the big guys. Basically just the same thing as a regular one, except he takes more hits. And as you can see, if you time it well, you can basically bounce a guy off the wall and get yourself a killer combo going. Which I don't know if actually comboing enemies gives you more points or not. It's hard to say. I'm going to say it probably doesn't, but the other thing you can do with these barrels as well, beyond just getting power-ups out of them, is these barrels also do extra damage to enemies, so especially the purple ones. So if you punch an enemy back into a barrel, it actually does more damage to them. So you can use that to sort of stack up additional damage if you need to. So, and there's several segments of this as you get up the level. I still don't quite understand the theme Son of a gun. I still don't understand the theme of how this fits into You Are the Level. Like, this is a really cool platformer, but I don't really see... I mean, I might be missing something obvious here. Lord knows I'm not the greatest at understanding subtlety at times. But I don't know if this... how this relates to You Are the Level. I am interacting with the level, but I don't really seem to be an active part in it. Like, I'm not changing the level based on, you know, the way I play or the enemies that I kill or anything like that. In each level, you are playing a different creature, and the level has a different color scheme and color scheme design and look, which matches your creature. So, like, this is green. The next one I want to say is yellow or brown or something along those lines. So I don't know if that's what they mean. Kind of a loose-fitting theme, if you ask me, but I don't really care because this is a lot of fun. You know, it's a game that rewards, obviously, skill and improvement and iteration, which is... And it's a score attack game that actually gives you a reason to play for score because there are leaderboards, which I think is pretty cool. So you're going to see how this culminates. Uh-oh. Is that a Doom ship I see? Could be. Oh my. Yes, sir. So they're dropping dudes off left and right up in here. So you know what? Let's just do this easy. Yeah. Screw you guys. And now we have, as one would expect, the boss fight. The initial one here is pretty easy, but the thing with this game is, this game ramps up the difficulty fast. As you get into other levels, new creature types will be introduced, as well as more complex level designs. It took me multiple attempts to get through the second stage, and I haven't beaten the third one yet. I actually don't know how many stages there are, but yeah. This is not a baby platformer. It may seem like I'm not trying that hard, especially since I usually suck twice as bad at these games when I'm commentating over them. But this is not easy. Got him. Now, the one thing that I have found interesting is that when levels end, as you can see, the ship crashes. But this is where it ends. You don't see the crash or the result of it. It just moves on to the next level, which, as you can see, is now yellow, and now I'm a little yellow guy. Oh god, and now there's flying enemies. Yeah, this is how things get more complicated. So, yeah, I don't know if maybe by the end... I am going to finish this game at some point, but I'm wondering if maybe the idea about the You Are the Level thing is that if by the end, maybe the all the creatures that have been that you play through kind of meet together when all those ships they take down crash, and then something culminates into something way bigger from that. The theme of this particular game may be less obvious and a bit more of a long play, which is cool. I can dig that. But I also don't know what those are, other than the fact that they give you a lot of points. So I'm not sure what they're going for there, but maybe I'll find out later on. I purposely didn't play a ton of this before I recorded because I wanted to have a better experience of it. But you're sort of getting the idea of this here anyway, so get a little bit further up and then I think we'll move on to the next one. But as you can see, you know, I'm already struggling a little bit more on this. The flying enemies are not so bad as long as you're not in tight quarters. But later on in the game, like the third area, it gets devilishly hard, which is cool. I like that. Now, you're only seeing sort of the really top scores here, but if you go online to RetroGameCrunch.com, the full leaderboard is there as a web page, so you can see your own score there. So, gives you the idea of that one. Now, Paradox Lost, this is an interesting one. So the theme of this one is can't stop time traveling. And this is possibly the most inventive one of the bunch. So I'm going to actually continue from here, because the beginning of this game, this is a very much a Metroid-like game. And in the beginning of the game, the beginning of the game is a bit of a slow start, like a Metroid game is. You don't have powers or anything like that, so your goal is, as you can... That was the wrong button. That was the reset button. So as you can see here, it's a Metroid-like game. You've got a map. You've got abilities that you're picking up, as you can see along the bottom there. But you may curiously notice that thing in the top right, the era I am in, which is currently the future era. So yes, the gun that you pick up, which is this gun here, actually allows you to time travel between, I believe it's 3 eras, and you have to... It's supposedly all the same sort of world that you're in, but it requires that but there are elements in one era that are not accessible that are accessible in another era. So you want to actually time travel between the different eras at strategic points in order to accommodate everything. So I'm in the future right now. Now the way you do this is, so you got your regular gun here, but if you hold it down and reflect the shot back at yourself via one of these crystals, would you look at that? Now I'm in the past. Actually, there may be 4 eras. I'm not sure. So as you can see, I've discovered a little bit more of this era, but as you can see now, I'm in an area that I previously couldn't access because I managed to do so through this other time period. So, and here's the present, which you can see I've discovered a lot more of, because this is where you start off, obviously. Now, based on what I've seen so far, the time travel is cool, but it doesn't seem to be super... It seems to always be super obvious where you should use it. Like you can see here, and in the last area I was in, I'm in a tiny room that I can't get out of. So the only way to progress is to time travel. And it doesn't even allow you to backtrack if you screw it, you know, to screw up. So as you can see here, I can't even go back. Once I'm in this area, I'm in here. So the only real way to progress is to move on again to the future. Now, I am early on, so there is a very good chance this will open up more later. I would hope so, because if it doesn't, then that kind of defeats... These things are a lot quicker than the ones in Metroid. I would hope I can this opens up, because if it doesn't, it kind of defeats the purpose of this whole thing. This just becomes kind of a cute gimmick at that point, if you can't progress. If you're not required to make use of multiple potential time manipulation points in order to access different places and sort of figure out puzzles, basically. If you can't do that, that would be kind of a shame. But the core idea I really like. Here we go, we're back in the present. But as you can see here, every area I'm going into are areas I haven't been to before. Oh, take that, sucker. But this is a game like a Metroid game. You can save, so you can you're not starting over every time, and you do have the opportunity to sort of go away and pick up where you left off later, which is always nice. Here's another one. We're back in the future. So you get the idea here. I think this is cool. It's going to be a bit disappointing if the time traveling, so you see you have to rescue people. So there's one up there. I have to figure out how to get to her in this time period. Obviously, she's in this time period. So here's a save point. Yeah, if the game doesn't require you to actually make strategic use, oh good lord, of of your time travel abilities in order to... Oh, can't go up there. Those things hurt. If the game doesn't require you to make strategic use of your time travel abilities in order to go back, or to give you multiple paths to attack things or whatnot, then that's going to be kind of lame. But it looks right here like it's opening up quite a bit. So, yeah. So there's not a ton more to say about this one, because the concepts are kind of all out there right on. There are some boss battles in it. To get this gun, you actually have to do a boss fight that involves having... Because you start the game unarmed, the first boss fight is you actually have to stand in locations so that when the lady shoots you with this gun, you actually take the gun from her. You have to stand in a room full of crystals so that when she shoots the gun, the bullets reflect off the crystals back to her. And then you do that enough times and she dies and you get the gun. So you get the idea here. So yeah, that is Paradox Lost. Like I said, I think this is pretty neat. Oh, you bugger. There we go. And there's lots to see. Obviously, the map, as you can see, is pretty large. So, it's pretty cool. And this absolutely looks like something you could have done on the NES. I mean, this is clearly Metroid-inspired, but there's nothing wrong with that. Ooh, freeze prism. Oh, there we go. I wasn't sure I was going to get another gun type, but wow, a freeze gun. Where have we seen that before? Yeah, you get my point. But I can freeze myself. That's pretty amusing. But yeah, I really like the idea here. I think this is a really cool one. So, but you get the idea of that one. Whoops. So... Let's move on here, because we've been talking for half an hour, and we still got a few to get to here. All right, next up is Web-Wub Rescue. So the theme of this one is music influences the level, and you're going to see what I mean here. This was not at all what I expected. We're going to start over with this one, too. I didn't get too far in it. So the idea is that you are a dog whose master, I guess, has been kidnapped by evil tribesmen. So, as you can see here, you're a dog that... No, I don't know why a dog can climb ladders, but he can. And you can jump, and... You make that little cutie chiptune bark. Little doggy. So... Doing the bark doesn't really play much into anything as far as I can tell. It's just a cute thing to make noise. So obviously your job is to get to your master. But you're going to notice something. Notice how the platforms as well as the evil tribes guys are syncing to the beat? Yeah. That is going to play a very big part in this game. This is a rhythm game, but it's a rhythm platformer. Like, when I first started playing this, I was like, oh, it's a Donkey Kong ripoff. That's kind of unoriginal. And you'll see here. So unfortunately, just like Donkey Kong, you get to the person you're trying to rescue, and they get taken further on. So I presume by the end of this, you finally rescue him. Now you may see here also that those arrows are firing in a specific pattern that's always on the downbeat. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you get the idea. So these are little primer levels, but you're going to see where things get a little more complicated very shortly. So you see up there, we got the old Victrola, as it were, old school record player. If any of you are as old as I am, you may remember the iconic logo for RCA back in the day of the dog looking curiously into the speaker of one of these things, which was supposed to represent how good the sound quality of RCA electronics were, because it made the dog think it was his master. So, You go up and touch this, the dog kind of grooves out. So you see there's a little record up top there? Now you see as well, we have this problem where the arrows are coming way too fast. There's no way I could fall through there without getting hit by it. So, well, I was going to screw it up. But as you can see, what happens is, by getting the dog to sing, which in theory is he's singing along with the song he hears from this, the idea is that by triggering this, you slow the beat of the level down, so you make it easier to get through the puzzle segments. And as you can see, we got that little record at the top there, so you only have a limited amount of time you can use this. So, there we go. So you see, because I slowed the timing down, now it's much easier to traverse these things. And that's the idea. So you can see here, this is another heavy timing puzzle. I can actually make it across with these jumps, but there's no way I'll make it up there. Screwed that up again. But you're getting the idea here. So the idea is that all these levels are beat-based, and also the beat does change. Like you've seen, it's playing the same thing throughout. If I get a little bit further here, actually I think it might be after this level, so we'll see here. The beat does change, so that's how the game creates challenge. The beats get a little bit more complicated. And I would not be surprised to see if in later levels there are multiple record players that you have to deal with, and you're going to have to really manage your time when you obtain the records in order to okay, well, I'm bombing this out here, but so yeah, I suspect this will get a lot harder. This I really like because they took again, this is somewhat of a puzzle game, but they took the Donkey Kong formula and totally did something different with it. Okay, here we go. There we go. So you'll see here how things get a little more complicated. So you see the beat's a little different, and now we have the snake involved too. This is actually where I stopped playing because I wasn't sure how you dealt with the snake. Barking at him clearly does not scare him off. I presume you have to jump over him or something to that effect, but or get down here, I suppose, around him. But not screw that up. Anyway, you guys get the idea of this one here. I like this one a lot. It's basically Donkey Kong mixed with a rhythm game, but with more varied level design as well. That's pretty neat. I like that. That's a pretty good one. So, Brains and Hearts. So, like I said, this is the one I find least interesting, but I think it's also cool, the concept they came up with. The theory of this one is Einstein's dreams, which I was like, huh. The good thing is this one has, because it is a card game, this one has a tutorial. So, you can play this against the computer or versus another person. Versus is probably really what they wanted you to do it with, but... So you can either play Brains or Hearts. Brains is a robot that's very smart and has no heart. The scientist has a heart and I presume isn't as smart? I guess? I don't know. So Help is the tutorial, which we will leave on. There's also 3 different songs you can play while you play, which I think is kind of cool. B is my favorite. So here's the deal. So the goal is to capture the most cards. Brainstein always plays the first because he has no heart. Brainstein is who I'm playing. So you take a card from your deck and add it to your hand. So the idea is to create runs. So 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. If you create a run, the longer a run you take, the more of your opponent's cards you get to capture. Or rather, if you create a run that includes your opponent's cards as well, you capture some. So that's the thing. So you can't just make a 3, 4, 5 on your end. You have to make 3, 4, 5, and one of those 3 cards has to start. It has to start on your card. So if I want to make a 3, 4, 5, it has to start with one of my cards. But the 4, the 5, or the 4 and the 5 could be cards from my opponent. You can do 3 of a kinds as well. So let's put a 4 up here. So you can lock a card for 1 turn so that it can't be captured that one time around. But if it's locked, you can't use that. So let's lock that one, because why not? So this is the CPU's turn. So you see here, normally I could make a run out of 4, 5, 6. You also have the God die here, which is basically a chance thing that allows you to sort of potentially screw your opponent or screw yourself. So I can increment a card. So probably what I want to do, well, no, I lost my turn though. What I would normally want to be able to do is go 4, 5, 6, but I kind of screwed that up. So you see, he just made 3 of a kind using one of my cards, so I lost that card. The W card is the wormhole card, is both higher than 7 and lower than 2. So it's a wild card is really what it is. Okay, see, when I did this for research, I didn't get that. So the idea behind this, I guess, is that this is, they said, you know, Einstein's dreams. So I guess the idea of this is that this is something that Einstein would have dreamt up, which I find kind of interesting. So you see here, I can create a run using this. So let's do that. So I took 2 of his cards. So I'm in the lead now, technically. And so on and so forth until all the cards are captured. Like I said, it's neat. I think it's actually a neat card game. Like, it's a neat idea. And this is actually something you could play with a real deck of cards and other human beings if you wanted, which I think is pretty neat. But, yeah. This isn't something I see myself spending hours playing against the computer with. And I could play this with another person, but I see it getting boring pretty fast. But I like that they did it. I like that one of the games in this package is so wildly different from the others by being a card game as opposed to an action game. So I think that's cool. So I'm actually kind of kicking butt here right now, but I'm not going to keep going on about this. You get the general idea of this. Simple card game, simple but deep at the same time, which is what I think is pretty neat about it. So yeah, so we lock that one. But you get sort of the core concept of what they're going for here. I like it. I think it's a neat novelty. So, but you get that there. So that's that one. And last up, we have Shootin', and the theme of this game is just the end, which is probably why it's the last game in the batch too. But this is neat as well. I also like this one. So again, you can have co-op if you want. Don't have it right now. We're going to start this over. This game has probably the most systems involved, so you're going to see here. So, you move your guy around. So you have a sword that you can beat up on dudes with, as you can see. But it's not particularly powerful. So, you can also reflect projectiles back with it. However, if you do this, if you hold it down, you steal the attack of the enemy that you... Well, I screwed that up, but you steal the attack of the enemy, so you can still use your sword, but if you press B... Or, sorry, X. It's B on the keyboard, it's X on the gamepad. So, he has this little laser thing, so now I can shoot that. And the objective is to... Every enemy has a different attack that you can steal. This is one of my favorite ones. Some of them are definitely better than others, but the idea is to mix it up. And oh yeah, there's big enemies like this one, basically boss enemies. You can't steal boss enemy weapons. But the idea is to mix it up and steal different weapons that best fit different situations. And you have different levels you have to go through, and as you saw, I was earning currency there. So there is a store where you can buy largely consumable items, stuff that I think allows you to resurrect once and other things like that. But I'll show you here. So here's the shop. So yeah, a helmet that allows you to survive a hit. A more expensive helmet, a proper helmet, survive the first hit, and it's actually permanent, but as you can see, it's 10 times the price. Extra life that's permanent, which is nice. Improves your Dirk ability, which is the Dirk and the Apprentice. But as you can see, those are somewhat expensive, and I don't have enough for anything right now. But as you can see, it also shows proficiencies on the right side here. So if you improve the items, the skills go up, and presumably as you earn more items, there's more stuff you can buy. And there's multiple levels with different difficulty levels, as you can see, different star ratings that also show the kind of weapons that are available, and you don't have to do them in order, which I really like. So let's steal this guy. No score in this. I mean, this being score attack would have been kind of cool, but it's also a game where you actually are kind of farming to a certain degree. So rather than have score, they have the currency, and the currency is what allows you to buy stuff to upgrade your guy, so that's alright. And as you can see, it plays a lot like a shmup in some ways, because you have to clear out waves of enemies in order to unlock the currencies, the sweet, sweet currencies contained within. If you don't do that, then you don't really get anything for your effort, which is not so hot. And as you can see, currency times out, so you want to make sure to grab it as quick as you can. So it's kind of like an arcade, like an old school 80s arcade, like sort of shmup combat game, which I think is kind of neat. As you can see, the levels are in sections. I believe you have limited lives. If you die, you will go back to the last checkpoint you completed. You run out of lives, you got to do the level all over again. So standard arcade mechanic in that respect as well. So you're getting the idea here, but I'm going to go through one of these levels and show it to you here. There are multiple levels, and they do get harder. I played some more of this the other night, so I died there. But as you can see, I'm at the last checkpoint now. But I lost that weapon, so I've got to steal it back. And I don't use my sword nearly enough, but there are times when your sword does come in handy. This does definitely get harder. I played some of this the other night when I was doing research, and it definitely does get more difficult. And the fact that you can only, without any power-ups, you can only take one hit, like, it is fairly unforgiving, so... But that's alright. It is inspired by the NES era, and hey, NES games are friggin' hard, man. That's kind of the point, right? I'm gonna try to get to the end here and beat the boss. I'm not gonna go nuts trying to kill all these guys and get all the money, because I'm not gonna be playing this all the way super serious, so... Alright, here we go. Standard boss. Boss has a life meter. As you can see, we got some bullet hell going on here. This guy can be a bit gnarly to dodge, as you can see. You really want to make sure you are watching his telegraphs. Alright, so... take this guy out, and then we'll call this one, I think. You're definitely getting the idea here. And the enemies do get more varied in different levels. That you'll have the ability to acquire different weapons, which are obviously better suited to different situations. Some encounters are going to be better suited to one type of thing than another type of thing. So you really want to watch. You really want to watch how you go about that. Oh, you're being sneaky now. But as you can see, these bosses are no pushovers. They do not go down with no effort. If you buy some upgrades, presumably they would. But Yeah, well, I made it out. So, you get the idea there anyway. So, I like shooting a lot, actually. It is again, the theme is the end, so I don't know what that means. Nothing we saw here is really makes much sense to that. But I presume maybe the narrative of this game goes into that more, or maybe ultimately you're trying to save the world and you can't. I don't know. But it's an interesting one, and I like it a lot. So, and I really like this collection a lot. I think it is, considering all these games were made in a month, and the initial prototypes were made after only 3 days of hard crunch, I think it's pretty amazing, and I think the guys did a pretty good job on it. So if you want to get a hold of this, obviously the key question is price. What does this cost? Well, I paid $13 for it on a launch week sale, which I'm not sure if it's still going on. I believe this is $15 normally. But you know what? We're capturing my desktop here, so how about we just go check. I believe it is $15, and that may be a tough value proposition for some people. Yeah, it is $15. I got it for $12 actually, so there you have it. That may be a bit of a tough value proposition for some people. You know, a series of admittedly well crafted but very, very short, focused, retro-inspired experiences for that amount of money may feel like a little bit too much for some people, and I can't blame you, really. So here's the leaderboard thing that we were talking about. Actually, I guess it doesn't include everything. Wow, you got to score really well to even get on here at all, don't you? Yeah, I don't think I'm on here. So, you're going to have to judge the value proposition for yourself. Personally, I really like this. There's only 1 or 2 games in this that I probably wouldn't play a lot. I'm probably going to finish most of these, actually. And some of the score attack ones like this one, I could see myself playing a lot. I think I'd have a lot of fun with that, actually. And I think it's well worth $15. I think what these guys did is really impressive. And I think they pulled off something pretty cool. And it was an experiment that worked out well for them, and I hope they get a lot of success out of this, because I would love to see more stuff like this made. This is taking the idea of retro games and applying them to the current generation and doing it in a really unique and different way. So I'd like to see more of it. But if you'll excuse me, I think I have some more Gaia to attack. So that is Retro Game Crunch. It came out in 2014. Can't actually remember the release date now, but it was self-published and, well, with Kickstarter, self-funded by Rusty Moyer, Sean Inman, and Matt Grimm. And I think you should check it out if you're into this. If you're into retro titles, and wouldn't be watching this if you weren't, most likely. I like what they did here, and I think this is an experiment worth supporting. My name has been Parallax Abstraction. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time.